This video will be talking what data you can use from your Amazon competitors in order to use to improve your own Amazon listings and to find the keywords which can bring you more customers. Our guest will be Jeremy from DataHawk. And before that, before we go on with the session, I would like to mention that this session is part of Seller Fest online virtual event, which is supported by two great companies. The first one is VA Academy Philippines. They are specializing in bringing you the best virtual assistants for your Amazon business. They can help you with PPC management, listing optimization, whatever you have, whatever you want in your business. And Getida is another great company which are specializing in maximizing your FBA reimbursements, no matter how big or small you are on Amazon. And they they can give you free money, which is held by Amazon. So these are two great companies. And this session I'm hosting together with Lisette Lees. She works with different Amazon brands and hosts Amazon Orange Click videos.
Hi, Augustus. Happy to be here. And also, I'm excited to invite our next guest here, Jeremiah, who will share his knowledge about how to read Amazon competitors' data for your own advantage. So, hi, could you first introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about your background before we go to your session?
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing me on. I'm Jeremiah Chambers. I'm with DataHawk. We are a data and analytics provider, a data provider for Amazon sellers and Walmart sellers. So for myself, a little bit of a background. I've been with DataHawk for around 6 months. Gotten to work with some great companies, very large aggregators, accelerators, agencies, and some smaller sellers as well. Great part is been able to help them quite a bit with this competitive analysis and help them out with what we're talking about today.
Cool, very nice. So I wanted to remind all of the sellers who are watching us live that in the end of his presentation, he will also answer to all of your questions regarding reading and analyzing competitors' data. So I know you're now ready for your presentation. So let's go ahead and see what you have for us.
And before we go on, I wanted just to remind that, at any time, if you feel this information is useful for you, don't forget to hit like and subscribe below this video. And let's jump into the presentation.
Yeah, and I love that we're doing this because I can say, smash that like button and don't forget to comment and subscribe. So I'm telling you about how to read Amazon competitor analysis and use it to your advantage. We're going to talk about this in a few different ways. First off, just kind of going over the agenda. It's when to do competitive analysis. We're going to talk about that first. We're talking about ways of identifying competitors and threats, and then give you a little bit of a real world example. And then we're going to wrap up, and then hopefully we'll have some questions that we can answer later on. So starting off, these are the typical scenarios when we have a client coming to us saying, hey, I need to do competitive analysis. The first one, of course, to launch a product in an existing market. They are already established maybe, and they're trying to get this product up and running, and they're figuring out, hey, what's my strategy to make sure I can get traction as soon as possible? Another one is to optimize your strategy for a product already listed. Maybe you realize, hey, I'm not performing as well as I'd like, and I want to see some tips and tricks on how I can move my ranking up, whether organically or with sponsored ads. And then lastly is to launch a product in a new market. This one is growing in popularity. We're seeing a lot more of this now. People trying to break into new markets. Maybe they've done a really good job in the US or the UK or elsewhere. And now they're trying to identify somewhere new. So it's important really to get a good understanding of your competitors when doing any of these things. So talk about the different approaches that you can take when it comes down to identifying your competitors and threats. One is that broad category approach. So whether you're playing in sports and outdoors, or home furnishings, looking at that category bestseller report is always good to look at those top 100 players in your space. That's going to give you that more broad outlook, but there's still a lot missing there. So it's important to maybe drill that down a little further. And this is where you're going to hear me later talk about finding new competitors by keywords, specifically long tail keywords. Long tail keywords can help you really find that competitor that most fits yours on that digital shelf. Think about yourself walking through a store, looking at a shelf, what products are going to be most like the one that you actually have listed. That's how you can narrow that down. We've also talked about analyzing brands and then product level analysis to get down to market dynamics that will help you understand how to maximize the Amazon algorithm so that you can compete once you've identified the competitors that closely match yours the best. So diving in, I'm just going to show you, this is a snip from a report that we have, and we're going to be looking at a category. So we talked about that category-based approach. The category we're looking at right now is flavored water. So we're looking at this over a 30-day span. You can see that 381 unique products and 77 unique brands are showing up in the top 100 products leaderboard. So at the bottom, you're seeing the top 5 there, dominated by Propel and True Citrus. But looking at that top 100 as a whole is a good starting place to realize who's the strong players in your space, whether you're just starting out selling on Amazon or you're an established seller. It's always good to have a grasp on this because these things, depending on your category, can change drastically just in the matter of 30 days. So looking at these top 10 brands, it's really important to identify one thing specifically, and it's this right here. It's when did they enter that top 100? So this could be whether you're looking at that long-standing dominant competitive product or competitive brand that has been just in the top 10 forever in your specific category, or you may identify that someone new just broke into there. Why is that important? Well, if you're seeing a brand that just broke into that top 10, that is a really big deal. Reason why, I wish I would have put a slide up here showing this thing. We call it the spaghetti chart. But when it comes down to just about any category on Amazon, there's a little fluctuation, but that top 10 is where you find stability. Underneath the top 10 in just about any category, when it comes to brands or products, that's where most volatility is. And that's where most of you are probably playing. So if you're able to break into that top 10 or find a competitor that's broken into that top 10 and unravel their strategy, that's where you can find some really good juice to help your products rank better, both organically and sponsored. But you have to find that starting point first. Before you start digging into a competitor's strategy and their product, you want to understand which one you should be focusing on. So this is where I'm going to move on to, let me go back one, is that use of long tail keywords. So again, we talked about that category approach. We talked about that brand approach. Those are both broad. They're going to give you an idea of the market as a whole. But now we want to really hone in on who's my top competitor or who's the top product or what the top product is that I want to most emulate. Again, great target is if there's a product that has entered the top 10 bestseller rank within the last, say, 90 days or so. If you can find one of those, that's the one that you really want to track. So when we're looking at this long tail keyword, what we've used is a keyword for, again, a flavored water product. I believe we use water infused with cherry. And you're going to see that Hint Water is the #1 ranking brand within that long tail keyword, followed by, then Propel, and then Diesel. What's really cool here is now if you look at the market dynamics, it's going to help you understand a little bit from this competitive analysis, what can I do with my product to help maximize that Amazon algorithm? There's a few things to focus on. One is, of course, average price. You know, the Amazon algorithm, they're keeping track of all the products that customers buy within your specific category. And we have that average price. If you know what that average price is and you're able to price close to that range, you're already going to put your product in a much better position. Another thing to think about is, what do I need from a ratings perspective, whether it's a star rating or numbers of ratings, in order to rank on a specific page? Now, we always look at the top 5 pages of search at DataHawk. We find that to be the most fruitful land for you to really occupy in order for you to get the sales that you need. But let's say you're starting out, and I just want to rank on page 5. What's the minimum number of ratings that you would need? And what's that average star rating that you need in order to rank on that page? You need to know that. You need to look at the competitive products that's within your space and understand what is that lowest bar that I can reach with my product to even begin to compete. Then formulate your strategy to figure out, how am I going to get that many ratings? How am I going to get those star ratings? And, is my product really stacked up to win in this area? There's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself when you're looking at it, but understanding those market dynamics is important. Also, depending on if you're a premium product, understanding the market thresholds are important as well. Understanding what's the max price that anyone's ever purchased a product within your category in the top 5 pages. What's the lowest price people are purchasing? That's some very important items to consider when you're looking at how to list your product and how to compete. So breaking down brands is something to think about as well. There's 2 different ways that we're looking at it here. One, if you look at the top, we're looking at organic. So these brands, if I have to say anything about these brands that are ranking well organically, is that they probably have some great content on their product detail pages. Check out those PDPs. If you're looking at the brands that you're competing with, again, we're looking here at Hint, Bai, Propel, Diesel, Just Water, and Hint Water, which those, the top and the bottom are basically the same, is they're ranking really well organically. They probably have some great content on there. And if I look at one specific product that most closely matches mine, I could probably look at their listing and think about my own listing and get almost a playbook of how to adjust my listing to start ranking better organically myself. You don't have to be a trailblazer. All you have to do is figure out who's doing well right now and maybe try to follow that path yourself. You can try something different. Of course you can. But there is going to be some good outline data there within that listing that's going to help guide you on how you can optimize yours to rank better organically. Thinking about sponsored ranks, who's showing up on those sponsor ranks that's not showing up on the organic ranks? Why is it important to know that? Well, you can go back and see what their ad strategy really is. How are they leveraging ads? What keywords are they bidding on the most? And then again, are you playing on the same digital shelf that they are? We're going to talk more about that here in a moment. But that brand analysis is always an important thing to do because they have multiple products that are going to be similar to yours. The better you understand their portfolio and the dynamics at play there, better it's going to guide you on your strategy. So now we're looking at share of voice. So again, we've narrowed this down. We're looking at a keyword. We're looking at a long tail keyword for this particular example. We're looking at water infused with cherry. So we're seeing the top 6 products at the top that are ranking for that specific keyword. We're seeing the number of ratings. We're seeing the ratings change within the time frame that we've specified, what their average star rating is, and what their price is. All great stuff that can help guide us to, again, which product do we really need to focus on? Because if you don't narrow down your search on your competitors, you're going to end up chasing information a little bit too much, is what I've seen from my experience. I like to call it analysis paralysis. If you're doing competitor analysis and you're going too broadly, you're going to be just digging in, trying to find different things out. And by the time you do figure out who your real competitors are, things have already changed. People are optimizing their listing. They're even getting further ahead of you and you're getting further behind. So the quicker and the easier you can figure out who your true competitors are, using long tail keywords, using the right tools, drilling it down and honing in on just a few of those, ones that are ranking well organically compared to ones that are ranking well sponsored. This is going to be what guides you to a better process overall. All right, now think about that long tail keyword and again, looking at the market dynamics. I'm going to go back to that for a second. When you're looking at a long tail keyword, this can be a little different than your category as a whole. Because if I think earlier, I think I used the examples around $23 is what the average selling price was within the flavored water category. And it was 4.6 stars roughly is what the actual average star rating was for the best selling brands that we have out there. This is a little bit different. And this one you can actually do by page as well. You can actually do this market dynamics by page if you want to, all the way through page 5 on Amazon, depending on what market you're in. So if you look at this, it's saying, okay, again, if I want to compete really well, I want to understand the pricing dynamics. If I'm pricing a little bit too low, I'm seeing that at least, 50% of the products that people buy are going to be, under probably $20. And then the average selling price is around $26.29. So if I really want to tap into that Amazon algorithm, I want to be priced close to this, make sure my pricing strategy is in line with that. Average star rating, once again, if I want to compete, I've got to have an average star rating of at least 4.37 stars. Of course, more is better, depending on the volume of ratings you have, but I know this is my target. And lastly, it's the number of ratings. Now, if I'm launching a new product or I'm trying to optimize my product, I might not have 4,000 ratings, and I may be far from that. So it's not about getting 4,000 ratings and looking at, okay, how do I get to the same number of ratings as a top rated product? It's thinking, how can I at least get to that minimum threshold, which is right here, 96 ratings. So if I want to compete, I want to make sure that my pricing strategy is in line with the market. So this specific water infused with cherry, this is my long tail keyword. This is telling me that the products that are most like mine sell for an average of $26.29. They have an average star rating of 4.37 stars, and they have at least 96 ratings. So when I'm launching that product, those are my benchmarks that I'm focused on. That's how I'm going to get some traction. Now, if I'm looking at a product that's a specific competitive product that I'm really trying to emulate, I can see how things have developed with this historically. And we're going to look at a few areas of this specific product. So again, we're looking at water infused with cherry. I've identified the hint water cherry, pure water infused with cherry. This is the best selling product in my subcategory. This is the thing that I'm chasing. This is the most liked competitive product I have. Tons of ratings. I'm not getting to 87,000 ratings anytime soon. 4.5 stars. That's reasonable. And I can see down here what type of categories it's ranking as well and what the buy box price is. Now, this information is helpful, but what's more helpful is this, is what categories is this product showing up in? And is my product showing up in those same categories? You see it showing up in grocery and gourmet food, beverages, bottled beverages, water, flavored water. It's doing well in all of these different categories. So this leads me to the product listing. So that product listing, this is ranking very well organically. I want to analyze this. And especially, again, I'm going to go back to the scenario. If you see someone that's climbing those ranks very quickly, or just recently they've done it, I can see historically what this listing looks like. So I see all the words that are included, how many times. I can see everything that's changed in here. But if there's some kind of seismic change that really shifted the trajectory of this product, I can say, look, on October 13th, something changed. And then after that, the rankings dramatically improved. That can tell me if I do that with my product, most likely I can expect some good results. Next, if we're looking at somebody that's ranking really well sponsored wise, which this product, probably not the best example. This product is dominant from an organic standpoint. They've got kind of a defensive strategy going on, but I can identify what that kind of strategic ad placement really is. Anytime there's a star listed here, I can see anytime that they've done some type of a sponsored ad. So I can see here, they've done some sponsored ads. They're just maintaining that #1 spot on page 1 under hint water. It's a hint product, so that makes sense. But if I look something different, so I look again at water infused with cherry, they're not bidding on this as much, but they're still dominating the space. Any product that you're looking at competitively, you can unveil what they're doing from an ad strategy perspective. And again, if you see that trailing effect, you see them going from ranking on page 3, slot number 12, all the way up to page 1, space number 10, then you're able to maybe follow that strategy and employ that yourself. Oops. So when you're looking at doing competitor analysis, there's a few things that I want you to consider. One, it's important for you to understand your category, and understanding keywords are critical. Again, think about the long tail keyword that best describes your product. That's going to help you narrow down what the best like product is to focus on, so that you're not chasing down a bunch of competitor products and looking at some of the wrong things that could distract you from what could be a more winning strategy. Another thing is, be sure that the products you're tracking are most highly relevant competitive products. I can't emphasize this enough. Again, you're on a digital shelf. This is just like in a physical store. Physical store, products can be placed with products most like them. You want your product to do the same thing. You want to be placed on the digital shelf with products like it. So you really need to understand those market dynamics, what keywords are being used, and how that all operates. Another thing, use automated alerts to let you know when to reanalyze competition. Competition can change drastically very quickly. So if you have automated alerts, you'll know when something happens, and then you can take action. It's very important to do that instead of sitting there and trying to keep track of all these things yourself. You've got too many things to do already. Set up those automated alerts. They could really save your life some days and make a lot of time come back into your day as well. And then lastly, know your category and search dynamics. Understand the pricing dynamics within your category. These change constantly. Of course, anomalies happen during Prime Day and Black Friday, but understanding those averages is very important when it comes down to your overall pricing strategy, especially nowadays with margins being squeezed. You need to price your product to where you can make money, but it's aggressive enough to still get sales. It's a challenge. I know. I wish I had the perfect answer for pricing, but I don't. But understanding the analysis on there and understanding the averages is going to at least help you maximize the algorithm. And then know what you need from a star ratings perspective and a number of ratings perspective. So the reason why I'm telling you these things, just to let you know what we do at DataHawk. We help out a lot of different companies like yours. We see an average of 35% revenue growth, an average of 26% return on ad spend improvement, about 16 hours saved. What I showed you is just a fraction of what we do, but we'd love to help you with competitive analysis. If you have any questions or anything like that, I'd be open to see what questions we have. I'm not sure if I don't see anything in the private chat, but I'd be happy to jump in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeremiah, for this insightful presentation. And to all of us watching us live right now, if you enjoyed what Jeremiah just shared with us, then definitely hit like to the video and also subscribe to our channel if you are new. So before we go to the questions, I actually wanted to ask about the VIP session you recorded, especially for
First,
this event.
let's not ask, let's introduce what is VIP package. So together with all the speakers who are presenting in this event, we prepared a special VIP package, which has additional sessions from each speaker. And in this package, you can get content which will not be public on any other place. So, different speakers are talking about different problems and how you can solve different workshop style videos, worksheets they share, which can solve different issues. And let's talk about Jeremy's presentation. Jeremy, what are you sharing in this package?
Yeah, so talking about how your product, understand if your product is under optimized and how to correct that. Big issue that we see a lot coming in with our clients, especially as their portfolio grows. That's something that we created that VIP session to help you out. And also just to plug the VIP session, I'm pretty sure for $77, you can unlock most of the secrets of the universe, or at least get a lot of great stuff to help you sell more stuff on Amazon.
Perfect. And once you upgrade, you will get access to the membership area where you can get and watch all these videos. So that's it about the VP. Let's move to questions.
Yeah, let's take the first question then. So how do you know what competitor sponsored rank strategy is? You briefly mentioned about it during your presentation.
Yeah, so if you look at the keyword ranks, at least in our tool, what you can do is you can identify anytime they've had a sponsored ad by seeing a star next to that date and that ranking. So when you see that, the important part is to not look just for the stars, but to see what happens after that star. So when they ran a sponsored ad, you want to see how that's impacted their ranking overall. Again, you don't want to chase a losing strategy. You want to chase a winning strategy. So if I'm looking for a product that I've seen that's moved its way up the bestseller rank, specifically with sponsored ranking, I can go back and I can kind of do a historical analysis. I can look back, depending on how long I've been tracking the product, possibly all the way up to 90 days, and see any time they've done a sponsored ad and see what the impact of that is. So when you see those stars pop up, at least in DataHawk, when you see the stars pop up, that means they've ran some type of sponsored ad. And then if you look at the trailing effect of that, that can give you a sense of how did that sponsored ad actually affect the ranking. And then when you're thinking about your own strategy that you're putting in for your sponsored ads, you can kind of expect, okay, if I launch an ad on this keyword maybe I might move up, 3 places, or I might move up to that next page.
Okay, thank you. So another question, should I skip analyzing my competition in December because of the holidays, and should I do it in January?
That one I would always recommend. It just depends on your product and how competitive you want your product to be. Because if you think about looking at it in December, are you prepared for your December sales? Do you have a solid strategy for December? If you can, now not all tools can do this, but if you can, why don't you do an analysis of what happened last year in Q4? I'm not saying that the historical performance is going to indicate what's going to happen this year in 2022, but that may give you a sense of your specific category or subcategory and which competitors to look out for. Some competitors, that's their game, is that during the holidays, they're going to go extremely aggressive on price, and that's how they're going to win sales. Others have more of a holistic approach to it. So I would recommend still doing competitive analysis in December, but just be mindful of anomalies that may happen because of holiday sales, promotions, things of that sort.
Okay, thank you. So how exactly should I analyze the prices of my competitors to make some conclusions for my own product?
That's a great question. So the prices of your competitors, again, you have to think about your product as a whole first. You have to look at it objectively. Am I a premium product? Am I kind of the standard product within my segment? Or am I that lower priced option, that value option? You want to compare yourself to the one that's most like yours. Think cars for a second. You're not going to compare a Ferrari to a Kia. They're completely different categories of cars, but they're both cars. So when you're looking at that, if you're in that premium space, especially like on our tool, I'd look at that top quartile and understand the pricing dynamics there. Get a subset of maybe 3 to 4 products, if you can, that most closely relate to yours, and look at their historical pricing. See who's winning the buy box. That's your best gauge to understand what your pricing strategy would be. But again, if you're looking at it just as a holistic level, that average price in your specific category or subcategory is always just a good bar to set yourself up against.
Okay, so should I approach competitor analysis differently according to the marketplace? For example, US market versus German market.
The competitor analysis, the process itself is not much different. However, you do need to consider, especially if you're a native English speaker or German speaker, you have to consider, what some of the more finer details are. Specifically, when you think about keyword ranks, that's the biggest challenge when I've seen people go from one market to another. Is specifically, I'm working with a client right now that is just standing up a product in the German market, and they're a US company and they're native English speakers. So they don't know what some of those keywords are. So I think it's important for when you're looking at that to take that into consideration, is that yours going to be a totally different language, totally different words that you're looking for as far as a keyword strategy.
Earl is asking, does DataHawk works with any Amazon marketplace?
We work in 21 different Amazon markets. I believe that's the most out of any tool as ours. So I would like to say yes. I haven't come across one yet that we don't work in. But you can see on our website, you can see the 21 markets that we actually work within, and you can check that out. And if you talk to one of our team members, you can actually try out a free trial of it as well to see how it works for you.
Perfect. And another question, would you recommend using Amazon Experiments to test new keywords for title and bullets, or would it better to add new keywords and phrases directly to the product listing?
Okay, let me make sure I've got this. Amazon Experiments to test new keywords. I do like Amazon Experiments. That has been a good tool for people to use for that. But if you're looking at adding new keywords and phrases directly to the product listing, I would say it just depends on if you found, again, a very like product to yours that's ranking well organically. There's no shame in going in and seeing what they've typed in for their description and thinking, how can I apply that same type of methodology to my own listing? I'm not saying just copy and paste it. Don't do that. But I am saying that if you're looking at a specific competitor that's ranking really well, or competitive product, that can be your key to unlocking some more sales and boosting your organic performance. But I do love using our Amazon experiments. I think that really depends on your business and what you're focused most on. I think it's a great tool to use.
All right, another question. For how many long tail keywords should I make competitor analysis?
That's an easy answer for me. It's as few as possible. The more you can narrow it down, the better. But different products kind of work differently. You know, there's some products that might rank well for a lot of different long tail keywords, some only a few. Again, just think about it objectively. Think about what most closely matches your product or the essence of your product. Again, the example I gave was a flavored water product, and it was water infused with cherry. You're wanting to look at your competitor's product first, maybe look at what, if you look at the category, you think this product seems pretty close to mine, you can see what keywords they're ranking for, and you can maybe look at the long tail keywords there and see which ones match most closely to my product. But again, you want to be as few as possible. And I just say that because competitor analysis is great, but you need to spend some time on competitor analysis, more time taking action to actually compete. So don't get stuck just analyzing things. You want to make sure that you're getting actionable conclusions, and too many long tail keywords can sometimes slow you down a little too much.
And I wanted to remind everyone watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you find this content useful. It helps to reach bigger audiences for us. Let's take one more question from Yusuf. How to maintain the average quantity we should send to FBA compared to other competitors' stock to avoid out of stock issue and don't override the FBA stock?
Okay, that's a very specific question. I like it. I would say one thing that's also important with competitive analysis that I have not talked about a whole lot here is estimated sales and estimated units of sales. So if you're looking at, and again, this depends on what scenario you're in. If you're looking at breaking into a new market, estimated sales is a very valuable metric to have a good grasp on. Because stock quantity, I know that's a challenge for everybody. That's not my area of specialty. So I can't tell you that. I've got some great partners, and there's plenty of great companies that have a much better strategy for when it comes down to how to optimize your stock. But again, I think estimated sales is a good thing to look at, understanding that, and then just having some alerts set up. Because if your competitor runs out of stock and they own the buy box, that's really your chance to strike, and that's your chance to take ownership.
So yeah, we have a couple of more questions for you. So is it important to look at the review velocity metric in addition to the total number of reviews?
Yes. Great question. I do believe that review velocity is important, especially for those up and coming competitors. So if I think about this, it really depends. If you are an established brand that is in the top 100 bestseller ranks, you've been there for a little while, review velocity is very important to look at with your competitors, because you may have a new competitor that's coming in that could dethrone you and could knock you out of that top 100 bestseller ranks. But looking at it as a whole, it is still important to understand that, because if you see a product that's gaining a lot of reviews very quickly, again, we want to analyze their strategy. What are they doing with ads? How have they changed their listings over time? How are they ranking organically? And are we seeing improvements with that alongside of it? And what can I do to match that velocity myself if I'm seeing one that's truly taking off? That is an important metric to look at. I like the question.
Thank you. So where can sellers find the estimated sales of their competitors?
Shameless plug, DataHawk, you do there. So the best way to find estimated sales is actually we have something called Connections, where we can pump the data from our product into different business intelligence solutions like Power BI, Tableau, even Google Sheets if you wanted to. But you can look at a category and you can get a breakdown of estimated sales, basically pushed to whatever service it is that you use the most. And you can kind of slice and dice the filters to get to exactly the main ones that you want to look at.
Okay, thank you. So one more, how important is the competitor's region or location data, as this data point is now available also for sellers?
So competitors' region, location data. Okay, so for that, Again, it really depends on your specific subcategory. I'll say in general, it's not a major factor that you need to focus on too much. But if you are focused on selling, let's just say apparel, right? Sports apparel, for instance, of course, region location data is very important for that, because most likely your apparel is going to be sold in areas where you have a lot of fans that are going to be buying that apparel. But if you're looking at other products that are more generalized, kitchen products, things like that, it may not matter as much. So that one, again, it really depends on your category and where you're at. That one's kind of a case by case, I'd say, case by case basis on that one.
One more time, DataHawk, what does it provide for Amazon sellers, and what can they do with it?
Yeah. So again, thank you very much for teaming up on there. So again, data and analytics for just about everything that you need to really get your brand off the ground, or as an established brand aggregator, accelerator, be able to maximize your business efficiency as well. So you can track keywords, you can track products, you can track the markets and categories. You do the competitive analysis, all of that, and aggregate it with your Seller Central data, your Amazon advertising data, your Amazon finance data, all to get down to that bottom line, making sure that you are mastering your margins and doing the best possible job you can of getting your sales up with Amazon. We've done this with a lot of different sellers, a lot of different established brands. We absolutely love working with all of you, and it's really exciting. But one thing, just a last reminder, just because I just want to take it out of your mouth, I guess, is don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. I haven't been on YouTube that much, so I'm just excited to say it.
And yeah, the link to DataHawk you will find below in the description of this video as well. So thank you very much, Jeremy. And Earl says, thank you. That is a very interesting app you have. Thank you, Orange Click, for this session.
All right. And thank you, Earl. We love you, buddy.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Lisette. Bye-bye, Jeremy. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video with DataHawk about their Amazon SEO tool, which helps you to monitor your organic keywords.